Greetings, and welcome to Ealdormere at Home, the web series dedicated to keeping the Northfolk connected.
Hi, I'm Ruadh. Most people know me as Ruadh, but officially in the SCA, I am Fáelán Ruadh, which is the full name. It's Gaelic, Old Irish. And traditionally, the middle name was the binding that most people would know each other as familiarly and use your full Christian name in formal settings. So my middle name is the name that everyone would use, and that's Ruadh. In the SCA, I am in the Kingdom of Ealdormere. I'm from the far northern areas, mundanely known as Manitoulin Island. I like to say here be dragons because it's usually not on a lot of maps. So right now it's kind of sandwiched between the Bruce Peninsula, which is part of the barony of Ramshaven, and to the north of us is the Shire of Alfheim. I am the Herald of Alfheim, so I do book heraldry for the Shire, and that is mostly figuring out how to connect people and register them with an idea of what they want for a heraldic device.
Manitoulin Island or Manitoulin Island?
Manitoulin just means Great Spirit Island by itself, but a lot of people don't know that, so everyone just says island. So they know.
So Manitoulin. That's fair. All right. Well, that is fairly distant from probably most local groups. So on that note, what challenges do you find participating in the SCA when you do live so far from a local group?
I tried reaching out to like the SCA Broad and the Shire specifically because, connect to the local group, but it was kind of not operating and I didn't get any feedback. And at the time there was the Yahoo chats, so I connected with the Kingdom one, and then the then nascent canton of North Gatham, which is in the Bruce Peninsula area, said, hey, are you interested in participating with us? Well, we tried to register for some of the events online. That was pretty painless. We never went to an SCA thing before. We never did any events that were like Renaissance fairs or anything like that. That's just not really around. So we wanted to make sure we were dressed the part because, you heard about some recreation groups that are more historically minded and they're like, okay, you got to really fit the part. You can't be fantasy. Because I didn't know you could just wear a basic tunic or even just contact the Seneschal and Chatelaine and network to get loaner clothes. I had no idea that was an option. Camping events are the only things we really go to because things are so far away. Fool and things Southern Ontario are about 8 hours away.
So the separation from the local groups could definitely prove that barrier for entry, especially the newer people that, as you said, may not be into the arts and sciences as much. I think that you with your interest in it, you definitely had a good stepping stone to kind of get you more involved right off the bat, which may or may not have helped get you to continue going.
For me, in the martial side of things, I love the axe throwing. I want to get more into archery, and we didn't get more into archery simply because it's so hard. At the time, we had a Ford Focus to pack a bow with all the things you need for a weekend of camping.
That's bad.
And axes are packable. They're very small for throwing axes, and you can have a bunch of them and go. And it's very easy to get into if you're farther away. I'm trying to work towards so I can actually maybe host someday something on the islands. I got a lot of friends who are interested locally who want to do it. We are a tourist industry, and everything happens in the summer. So they have to work to make their money for carrying over in winter, and they can't really leave during the SCA camping events. So that has been a barrier for people in this particular region to join. Yeah, positives. There was the positive of being able to have fun online and just connect, and everyone's just like, oh, okay. And it's interesting because I don't get to meet people in person a lot, but when I go to events, they're like, "Oh, it's Ruadh," and I'm like, "Hi." Have we met? And I might have seen them online, but they're in the SCA right now, so they're going by their SCA persona, and I have to make the mental leap of, okay, this is them on Facebook. But it's fun because I get to meet people that way. So that's kind of a fun positive for me.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's my pleasure.
Matilda lives in Cultrithig and joined the society in 2002. She is apprenticed to Dame Eleanor Cadfin and belongs to the Feathered Fleur household. She's very interested in textiles, and her focus has been mainly on the creation of 14th and 15th century costumes from Northern European cultures. Some of the techniques she uses for her costumes are hand sewing, null binding, and weaving narrow edgings. 4 years ago, Matilda became part of the Order of the White Wolf Fáelán. There are no award prerequisites to become a member, and you join by proposing your challenge in court. These are meant to be year-long projects that allow you to gain new knowledge and skills, or build on an area of expertise that you already have. The Queen is the patroness of the Order. For her first project, Matilda wove fabric on a modern loom and created a dress based on clothing recovered from late medieval sites in Greenland. This rigid heddle loom can be used to make simple fabrics, requiring 2 and 3 shaft weaving. This cloth is 2-1 twill. Twill is easily recognized by the diagonal pattern that forms naturally from the replacement of the warp and weft threads. Because it is an uneven weave, 2 threads over 1, the back and front surfaces of this twill will have different appearances. For Matilda, part of the fun in creating the dress was using the cloth in such a way that almost none was wasted. The finished dress was warm and comfortable. After 3 years in the Order, it is now time for Matilda to re-challenge so that she can remain a member. At Feast of the Hare last fall, she proposed making a warp-weighted loom and weaving a length of 2-2 twill cloth. This is the type of cloth that was most commonly found at the Norse sites in Greenland. Warp-weighted looms are vertical and have a relatively small footprint for a loom. They're often found inside dwellings and would have been propped up against a wall at an angle. Warp-weighted looms of one type or another have been used across the world for thousands of years. Instead of weaving cloth horizontally, the threads hang vertically from a cloth beam, and weights are used to tension that warp. For her project, Matilda made 80 loom weights from clay. Each will be tied to 6 warp threads. The warp is made by drawing loops through the tablet-woven starting border. For 2-2 twill, 4 layers of warp threads are required to create the 4 weaving shafts. To do this, the threads are drawn through the border and alternately looped onto 2 fixed points. Since each weight will hold 6 threads, after 6 loops have been placed on each fixed point, the threads are cut and crocheted up into 4 tidy bundles. The finished warp is lashed to the cloth beam at the top of the loom. Here, the 4 warp layers are ready to be tied to their weights. This narrow warp was made to test the loom. It contains only 20% of the threads that will be used for the final piece of the challenge. After each bundle is tied to a loom weight, the layers are linked through a spacing cord. The first layer is laid over the lower fixed shed rod. During weaving, this layer of threads never moves. The other warp layers are tied heddle rods. Each warp thread is individually tied to the rod. This allows the layers to be moved out and in during weaving to create patterns of weft threads over warp threads. Here is the loom in action. The heddle rods are moved out and in to create the 4 shafts required for the cloth. The weft thread is placed in the open shed. The shed is changed, and the weft is pressed into place with a beating sword. As the cloth lengthens, the cloth beam at the top of the loom is rotated to wind up the cloth. After testing out this narrow warp, Matilda is ready to make a warp that is 480 threads wide and over half a meter wide. She will present her completed project at Feast of the Hare this fall and is looking forward to her next order challenge.
So sometimes the story behind a song can be just as interesting as the song itself. Back in about 2012, there was a Kingdom ANS. And so, being a proper Laurel, I knew I had to be prepared for it. So I put rings on all my fingers so that I could be prepared to give them away to people who impressed me during the day. And so it was, at the feast, at the end of the event, Their Excellencies of Septentria and Ramshaven got up and sang a duet. Well, you hardly ever see the landed gentry performing together like that. And so, of course, I had to acknowledge that gift by giving them a ring each. And it then was the end of the day, and I was doing dishes. And I discovered my wedding ring was gone. And indeed, I had given away my wedding ring by a mistake. The funny thing was, Her Excellency Septentria was actually sitting with a jeweler at the time and said, "That looks like a gold ring. Is it a gold?" "Yeah, it's a gold ring." "Oh, there must be a story behind it." "But do you think they asked me?" "No." So there I was without my wedding ring. And my 10th wedding anniversary coming up. Kind of important for me to get it back. So of course, the ring was ransomed. And since the next event that we were all going to be at was the wassail, and also the opening night of a certain movie from the Middle Earth, I came up with this song. We needs it, must have the precious. They stole it from us, sneaky little baronesses. Tricksy, false. No, master. Yes, precious. False. They will cheat you. They will hurt you. Lie. Master, they is our friends. You don't have any friends. Nobody likes you. I'm not listening. Where is it? Where is it? Lost is my precious. Lost. Curses and crushes, my precious is lost. We want it, we need it, must have my precious. They stole it. Tricksy baronesses, tricksy and false. And I did get my ring back. But not at wassail. It wasn't until a few months later, at St. Valentine's Day Massacre, that I finally got it back. But that's another story.
Okay, so Alex, would you be able to tell us what exactly is combat archery?
Combat archery is a secondary authorization of the heavy discipline. It's essentially grown-up Nerf guns. You take a crossbow or a bow that has been rigorously tested, safetied for the ammo, and you're able to shoot your opponents on melee battlefields. I personally like it to reaching out and touching someone or saying hello from a distance.
Social distancing at bow
At
range.
its finest.
Awesome. So as a secondary authorization, what would the prospective authorizee be looking at for the process?
The actual process is you have to get involved in a melee after you have your sword and board authorization. You have to prove you're safe with it, that you know the input, like the different parts of the crossbow. I'm going to grab one. For example, this is my crossbow. There are many others like it, but this one is mine. We don't want the tips going through someone's grill. You don't want to use it as a parrying device, right? On a hold, you have to know how to take the ammo off.
Safety it.
Safe it. You have to know not to shoot into spectators, if they're even possibly close, to avoid marshals. Then you enter into the melee, and you take shots in the melee under melee conditions where you're getting bumped or knowing to run away if you need to. And I think the most underrated thing is knowing when to fall down and being dead. As a combat archer, to my knowledge, the current rules say that you're engaged with everyone on that field at all times, everywhere. So you're in a little bit of a peril. They could come up from behind you, and you don't want that.
So when you're in melee, what is, or how would you go about arranging your kit for use?
Well, I would go on with one or the other. I wouldn't take my crossbow and my bow. I would choose. Generally, at Pennsic, I go with the bow. It allows me to shoot farther, allows me to carry more ammo. However, at Pennsic, when they're not telling you can't pick up ammo and you can only shoot people in the face, sometimes this crossbow is very, very useful. I can get in closer right into the melees. I would take a Pennsic Panther water bucket, and it is one of my favorite quivers. And as you can hopefully saw on the edge there, I have a carabiner, and I click it on my belt.
Okay.
And it allows me to carry 2 of them quite easily. Each one of these holds approximately 25 tubes. This weapon is only accurate for about 20-25 yards. This one, I've headshotted people the length of bridges at Pennsic. And it's actually like a real arrow. But it flies farther because of that. The tubes, they catch the wind. Sometimes they don't go the right direction. You don't have knocks on them like you would with a normal arrow. The other one, my personal more fun one, is the lawn chair bag recycled into a quiver, because it sits over, hand comes over the top, clicks on with the anti-penetration device. They're different from right and left-handed people. Just that little tubey thing sits on the side that your table is on. You draw with a thumb in it, and out it goes.
Okay.
So it is a lot of fun, but it takes up a lot of space in your car, in your tent.
What type of hand protection do you suggest for people looking to get into it?
You're required to wear half gauntlets, and I've worn gloves. I find the gloves sometimes are a little hard. For those who do archery, they have the finger pull tabs. They work fine. You have to wear half gauntlets. If you can get gauntlets that can magically let you pull a bow, I go get them. That would be really great. But with the size of the holes in the back of those, in the arrows, right? That's barely big enough for an ungloved thumb. Because when you shoot, right? I'm in there for you're pulling back. Yeah, most gauntlets don't allow you to do that. Oh, Their Majesties have asked me to start an initiative too, that anyone who wishes to learn about combat archery, please get me a message. There'll probably be a link right here on the screen to Photos by Alex at kojico.ca, or you can go on the Kingdom webpage, probably another link right here. And there'll be a link through to me. And if you're interested, I can either make arrangements to help get you trained or to set up an authorization for you. There's all sorts of stuff. My new position did put me in with siege equipment too. And to be really blunt, honest, and fair, I've never touched I've never touched a ballista. So that is my project. I have to learn, and I will be going to Pennsic and other events where they're doing it, and I will be going through whatever authorizations I'm allowed to participate in, even if it's just as a temporary thing to learn to see how it's done. But I will be learning how to do it. I'm sure there's a couple people like Rowan and Alistair. They are well trained with one, and I'm sure I can learn from them. Well, I'm happy to assist anyone and other who wishes to learn the art of combat archery. Their Majesties have asked me again to make myself available for anyone who is interested. I can talk with your local marshal to try to figure out how to get it for you. I might know a guy with a bunch of extra crossbows sitting in his house because he's been bored during isolation and, you know, shaving down wood. And well, thanks for taking this time.
Oh, no, thank you so much for coming on.
You guys are amazing. There's so many people that get to see stuff that they don't normally get to see. I'm one of them. And thank you for all your hard work. I look forward to seeing everybody and reaching out and touching some of you later.
Well, thank you so much, Your Excellency. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
I was overseas and I was getting my Kingdom newsletter, and some lady named Lady Sylvia Bassan Review had started a group in Ottawa. So when I got back, I got in touch with her. And she had come here from Norlande, which was a shire that had been, she'd started out of York University. And she started here. She managed to find us a seneschal, Thomas of Linlithgow, no relation. And there was me, and there was a bunch of SF people that she had recruited to bulk out the application to be recognized as an incipient shire. Because our first event in Skraeling, which just slightly predates us knowing each other, we had 6 out-of-towners, all from Everwick. Gillian, Torben, Finvar, Ragni, Jahan, and who am I missing? Anyway, 6 people. Mm-hmm. And that was great because the Baroness had come to visit us, you know. I should tell you about the arms. And during one weekend, we decided that we needed to make the arms be a hare. Now, why a hare? Well, because Thomas of Linlithgow had told us the story of Little Bunny Frou Frou. Exactly. And we got more mileage out of that than is in any way reasonable. But when we came to do the arms, we thought, a coney is not that dignified. Hares are more, you know, valiant and everything. So she drew it. And the reason the hare is salient to the sinister is because she couldn't draw it salient to the dexter. So that's gone through a lot of iterations, because I think that subsequent barons decided that salient was a bit wimpy, right? So these days it's almost combatant, I think, our hare.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, a lot of big things happened at Clancy Day. We were created a barony at Clancy Day. Mm-hmm. That was an interesting thing, because it was an enormous slog to get the paperwork done, because of course this is before you've got an internet where you can shove stuff up the pipe. And several people worked very hard on it, Anne and I in particular. And I decided that not only would I mail as you're supposed to do, I think the mailing was supposed to go to the seneschal and send 3 copies to there. And I thought, I think I'm just going to send a copy to the prince. But I know that the only reason that those documents got to the meeting that passed us as a barony was because Moonwolf took them. And he knew us.
Yeah.
And there was all of 10 or 11 of us there. Because a lot of, you were saying about not that many people went to Clancy Day later on, and that's true. And a lot of people didn't think it was going to happen that fast.
Well, what year did that happen?
82.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I moved up here in 85, and it was already a barony.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a complete set of chronicles that was from the very, the first issue through until sometime in the 2000s.
Cool.
Good.
That was a real labor of love.
Yeah.
The first Chronicles came out on a Gestetner, but oh wow. And we did it for a while at Carlton, and eventually I think we just started pirating Xeroxes. And
Well, once I was here, you know, I remember doing, about 1984, we when the Macintosh came out, we had access to some Macs at DNR. Certainly, at least cover pages there, or contents pages, plus stuff done on the Xerox 9700s.
I was going to say, there's an awful lot of early Chronicles with that beautiful Times typeface or Times like that the Xerox 9700 did. Yeah, because the word has to get out.
Well, and the Chronicle was such a labor of love. There were so many research pieces that went into that, and original art and original poetry and stories.
Yeah.
It was, I think I always loved the Chronicle far more than any of the official newsletters or anything, because they were just so much more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for you.
Okay, so we're going to start here. This is a sapling that I picked when green, and I bent it around a stump and let it dry. So that'll be the frame on the back of my backpack. And this board will be the bottom, so I'll cut that to length and put some holes in it, and those will make the frame of my pack. Let's look at the detail of my construction here. So I have my bottom plate, which supports whatever it is I'm carrying, and the arch that goes up my back, and then my bedroll or whatever it else is I've got goes in there. That's going to be pushing down on that board, which is going to want to push it off the bottom of my posts. So if we look at this detail here a little closer, here's my bottom board. And it's got the hole in it. And then through that goes my arch. So if I cut a little pocket in the bottom of my upright and then put a wedge of wood in the hole, then as this board is pushed down, it'll wedge against itself and it should hold it all together. Okay, so what I have here is a mixture of beeswax and pine resin, little period glue. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to spread it on my little wedge here, and some more on the joint. Squish in there. Cools off pretty quick. A little more on the outside just to help hold it all together. And snug that into place. Give it a little tap. And then do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so now I've got onto the straps. So what I did at the bottom is I just ran some thong under the bottom around that little stub and up and tied it off at the top, and then up into a knot at the bottom of my strap so I can adjust the length easily. And then up at the top I just loop the straps around the bar with some more thong and tied them to each other so that the straps don't slide off the bars on either side. And there's my strapping system. got it all strapped up. Feels pretty good. Put a few things on it, get a feel for it with a little bit of weight, and see how the tie downs work. So, join me next time. We'll give it a try and we'll see how it all works out.
Hello, everybody. Back in July, when His Majesty and I had our court, we set about a challenge to the kingdom to make a heraldic mask, since we made masks for gatherings and they're going to be around for the foreseeable future. So now that the kingdom has started to open up and we're into phase 3 of the kingdom, phase 2 of the kingdom's reopening, where we can have social distance meetings and ANS, we need some masks. So we thought that I would, I've got Baron Alexander here with me, who has received some photos from people about the masks that they've been making. This is the beginning of my mask. Oh, go the right direction. I'm still gonna do the laurel wreaths around it and finish it off. But so here's the beginning of my part of the challenge. And Alex is going to show us what we've got so far submitted.
Well, thank you, Your Majesty. Happy to take care of this. I was just going to, cheap out and wear my fencing mask. No, don't be that guy. It doesn't stop. So I got this one. It is my bacon mask, and I figure being the barbarian, it's got orange in it. But I might work on another one, but at least I will have my mask like everyone else should. And I've had a bunch of masks come in. I'd like to remind everyone who does, if you're going to send any in, you also have to send a little bit of text saying that the kingdom is allowed to post it. And if you can also put your correct spelling of your name with the email, it'd be much appreciated for storage, and that way I can help from the other end in coordination. So with that, Majesty, would you like me to show what I have?
Yes, I would love to see what you've got so far.
Well, Ealdormere, here's some of the people who've started this already. So now that I've clicked on the proper things, we have our first person here who sent in her mask, and embroidered heraldry colors, and it's Baroness Lucia with hers on the side, and I believe that's the inverted part of her mask. I think she has a double-sided mask. And then we have Fáelán with his. And some of these people have chosen to take head-on shots or side masks or just pictures of the mask. Anything is great for the submission process, whatever you feel comfortable with helping us. And if you want to go to the level of, multiple colors and heraldry, even better. Especially for us, you're going to have to take photos of all these masks now. Personally, I would rather take photos of your face, but masks will do temporarily. And we have Janet and Lachlan with theirs, where I'm not sure if that's painted or embroidered. I'll have to double check with them. And Lady Barra with hers, and I think she gave us a second one so we can see the embroidery she did on the other side. And wow. And then off so you can see more. And then Sir Aodha with hers. I think she's taken an artistic license with her heraldry, and and I think it's very creative and I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Majesty, that is?
I believe that's Gillick's.
Gillick's, yep. And I believe that one is a hand-painted one on a mask.
It looks painted. That's lovely.
And then this is Matthias, where his looks like he's had a little bit of help with mechanical stitching. But you know what? Very, very clean. And
that's okay.
Look at that. Like the crisp edges on that. Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And he took some artistic license, made some fun photos with it.
Well, we want people to have fun with it.
Yep. And then he put one of these little dragon.
It's important for everyone to be properly protected with their masks.
And Mencken with his checky. I honestly thought when he was sending me a mask picture it would have a Corvette on it or something, but the checky is, I shouldn't have underestimated that.
Checky is the thing.
And Thorfina.
Lovely.
With, again, both sides, and I believe that's a stamping. not just embroidery.
Yes, it looks like fabric stamp. Yeah.
Yep. And Baron Gerard with the toy maker, with his heraldry, a little bit out of focus, but it's still okay.
Mhm.
And the one I think is absolutely stunning with the amount of hand stitching in this.
My goodness, it's amazing.
Yep. And she did on the other side too. It's not just a color. It is, I'm going to go back and forth so you can see, like,
Wow,
yeah,
that's stunning.
gold stitching. It'd be
gorgeous.
almost interesting if this was an ANS thing like I normally do, to put the CSI ruler so you can see the stitch count for this, but holy cow. Not that this is the standard we expect everyone to make masks. Any mask is going to be good, so we get to
Any
see
mask
you.
is good, but this one is truly
Wow.
wonderful.
Yep. So, Ealdormere, Their Majesties did request this. I'm going to put out the further one. Please make masks. That way I have more people to take pictures of.
Mm.
And I would like a few more for the slideshow, so I can add it in, maybe send that into Ealdormere at home, or just have it made as a slideshow to go on the Ealdormere webpage.
We would
And-
definitely like to see a slideshow. So if people want to submit, people can submit more masks. We've got lots of time. We're going to be wearing them for a while, and maybe in a couple of months in the fall, if we get a bunch of them, we can do maybe a slideshow of some of the amazing masks that people have done. Because I know that other people outside of the kingdom have thought, hey, that's a pretty neat idea too. And so it's kind of nice putting our heraldry to work. Really happy to see what we've gotten so far, and we look forward to seeing more masks. I'm not done mine, so I can't put it on, but look at how neat is
I have earphones on. Oops, there they go.
that?
See, mask on, earphones.
So thank you, everybody. And thank you very, very much, Alexander. And we look forward to more pictures of masks.
To keep up to date on upcoming events, make sure you check out the Kingdom calendar on the Kingdom website.
If you would like to appear as a guest on a future episode, or have a video you'd like to submit for possible inclusion, check out our submission process. We hope to hear from you soon.
That's a wrap for this episode. Take a look at the video description for links relating to this episode's stories.
Until next time, stay safe, Ealdormere. We'll see you at home.